exactly I should retire or will retire. Has many complex parts to it. I think I'm aware of most of them, and I am and will consider them.
What are the factors that a justice?
Oh, there are quite a few, and I'm not going beyond what I said for the simple reason that I would like this interview to be about my book.
So.
The sound of rights being taken away. And this guy being totally willing to be part of a process that could result in a 7-2 conservative Supreme Court in a country that is not conservative, that is not trying to elect conservatives. They could end up getting effectively the entire Supreme Court. We already went through this once before, and Justice Breyer is still just, it's a joke to him. I've got my reasons. I won't even tell you what they are, but I'll decide for myself someday, maybe, when it's President Carlson or President Green or President Trump again, whatever. It's up to me. It's all about me. I'm the most important person. And if it means that some of your rights have to be taken away, it doesn't bother me. I'm gonna chuckle about it as I try to hawk a book to you. So he's my garbage person, Justice Breyer.
I always thought that like surgeons were the most pompous schmuckos because they're like, I cut open bodies and save them. And only I know how. My hands are so steady. Imagine what it must do to you to be a Supreme Court justice. You're not a judge. You are justice. And everybody is there like, oh, what's he gonna say? How many more opinions you got to write, buddy? And how many more experiences do we have to go through where we were this close to being smart about this stuff? And do you care about it? Do you care about it? Because this guy also recently came out and said that the decision that was made and handed down by the Supreme Court was very, 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 very wrong. And he said about whether to stop the Texas abortion law. And he was like, this is very, very, very wrong. The reason that that happened is because of horrible decisions like the one you're making right now.
Yep. Yeah. You exist in a political system. This is not just about you. It's not just about you, but he's making it just about him. And like you got to be a justice for years and years and years, but it's never enough for some people. It all has to be about them, about their stupid books, about their stupid legacy or whatever. Well, think about what like your legacy is going to be like when you get replaced with Janine Pirro or something. So anyway, those are our garbage people, but who did you all think should be the garbage person of the week? Well, 30,000 of you voted. By the way, more than 60,000 have now voted on last week's poll. That is incredible when you think about it. But you have 5, and so at number 5 with just 3% of the vote, Matt Walsh for his sexist tirade against female sports reporters. Nobody likes him even in the poll. Number 4 with 4% of the vote is Sarah Palin for calling AOC a fake feminist over Abbott comments. Surprised that's as low as it is. And number 3 with 8% of the vote is Sean Spicer and Kellyanne Conway for refusing to step down from military boards. Number 2 with 21% of the vote is Laura Ingraham for claiming Robert E. Lee united the country. That's a good one. But man, you guys really wanted Larry Elder, 64% of the vote. Larry Elder for arguing slave owners deserve reparations. It is really bad, admittedly. That was a really dumb thing to say. So thank you to everybody who voted in that poll. Much appreciated, community. Brett, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. I appreciate what you're gonna do for us next Friday when you lead the damage report. How exciting is that?
15-minute damage report on Friday next week. I'm just gonna get in, get out, make it efficient. John just drones on and interrupts me and is like, he doesn't let me wrap it up. You know what I mean? So we're just gonna be quick about it and let you guys go on for your weekend. Jordan's confirmed. Really chill guy will be joining us.
Jordan is gonna be. Jordan is gonna choose a garbage person. Has Jordan ever chosen a garbage person?
Yes, he sat in for me 1 week.
He did. Okay, exciting. Well, we're gonna see who he's got for you this time. But thank you again for that. Lots of exciting stuff coming up next week. By the way, we'll give you more details on Monday. But in any event, I'll be leading the first hour of the Young Turks Power Panel. Ida Rodriguez is back. Cenk Uger's gonna be there. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. But anyway, until then, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. And see you soon.
Welcome. It's indisputable. Good to be with you. We got a lot on the agenda. Breaking down news of the day. I got the big homie, Dan Evans, will be on the show. Host of Power Report, Audio Face, will join me. And in the bullpen, Quill Robinson, Vice President of Government Affairs, American Conservative Coalition. We're gonna talk about the environment. Okay, top news story of the day. This is a remarkable story because school teachers are remarkable people. Those who work with children are amazing folks. I want you to see this video.
You still got that? You still got your money? $1,500.
$1,500.
It's yours, baby. It was a little bit more, and so the school got together and we raised the rest of the money, and it's yours. We love you. We love you. We love you, Chris. We love you.
Oh my stars. There is a God. Oh my stars. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I thank you all. I thank you all. Oh, thank you.
Oh, it's all the people.
Thank you. Just
There's
let
a
you
lot
know
of
that
love
what
here.
they say about people is not real. It is not real. This here, I never would have dreamt of something like this. This is mind blowing to me.
76,000 miles.
I see this on Instagram and Facebook and internet and be like, oh my God.
So
man.
Little grandma had it.
Megan found it yesterday, and she texted me, and it belonged to a girl that we went to church with. And so we called her and worked the deal, and we knew we needed a little bit more money. So
You said the 1,500, and
so
then
we posted on Facebook, hey, we found a car, we need a little bit more money, and everybody
like
chipped
within
in.
minutes. It was
Like, yo, if
like
I was in
yesterday.
my body right now, I can't move. I'm stuck. I'm really stuck. Like,
So
this gonna be mine?
This is yours.
As we're walking up, I'm looking like, oh, this is a nice.
It's yours.
well, let's see you in it. Get in it.
Oh man! Wow!
You're never allowed to leave our school now. You know?
Wow.
That is Mr. Chris. Mr. Chris is the head custodian at Unity Grove Elementary School in Henry County. Henry County is in the metropolitan area of Atlanta. This was a gift. According to a Facebook post from the elementary school, 2 faculty members, Miss McDonald and Miss Combs, collaborated to raise money to buy the car with about 76,000 miles on it for a little more than $1,500. He said, and I quote, "I never would have dreamt of something like this. This is mind-blowing to me." The school said staff did not know at the time they happened to purchase his favorite type of car. Unity Grove is a special place, and we are so grateful for the people who are in our lives. That's on the school's Facebook page. Let's show another still of Mr. Chris, full of joy. Let's show a screenshot of these 2 educators who coordinated this whole thing because their head custodian has to walk to work every day. Now bring it back to me. The reason why I wanted to open the show with that story is because we highlight a lot of nuances in social, political land every day. And much of it is violent, confrontational, divisive. But I wanted us to be reminded that there are schools like this and there are people like this all over our country. These are the people. These are the champions. These are the educators and the workers and the custodians, the people who make this country worth fighting for. Dan, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I love that we're starting with a really nice feel-good story because you don't get a lot of those, and you don't see a lot of, unfortunately, what I at least know to be the majority of the case, which are really lovely interactions with folks regardless of race. But I'll definitely say that I'm really happy to see that especially in the school context, I at least know that in a lot of the schools I went to I was definitely one of the few minorities that were there. Oftentimes, one of the people I would look to would be the custodian services people, because those folks would be people of color, and like there'd be some sort of like a bond or a connection there. Like they'd like look out for me in that kind of way. So I like and they're often seen like they're behind the scenes. They're just keeping the school clean. They're not even thought of as like the main workers when you think of teachers or the administrative staff or thing like that. So there's such a diligent job that goes oftentimes so underlooked. And so I'm really happy, honestly, that he got to have this like really good moment. And it was his favorite car too. I mean, he's gonna love that whip.
Man, I gotta bring this story up because you just touched my heart and brought a memory back to me. When I was in the 6th grade, I was in a situation where I no longer lived in the district, but I still wanted to go to the same 6th grade school. And so I walked about 5 miles early in the morning, every morning. And I walked back about 5 miles after school every day. And I would have to wait for everyone to leave because I didn't want anyone to see me walking, because they would start asking questions. Why are you walking? We have buses here. Why didn't somebody pick you up? Well, I would sleep in one of the classrooms until everybody was out of the school and all the buses were gone. And there was a custodian named Mr. Henry. And Mr. Henry caught me one day. He said, yeah, I saw you here one day. I was gonna let you slide, but I keep seeing you sleeping. I need to know what's going on. And I told him that I recently had to move outside of the district and I didn't want to move schools. Mr. Henry took me home every day. Never said a word to anybody. So big ups to Mr. Henry, our head custodian at Atherton Elementary. All right, shifting gears. This is not a feel-good story. 3 schools were forced into lockdown because of the Proud Boys teaming with anti-maskers. I kid you not. 3 schools in Vancouver, Washington went into lockdown last Friday after a group of anti-mask protesters with the Proud Boys attempted to gain entry into their school. Wow. Skyview High, Alki Middle, and Chinook Elementary were on high alert after local members of the Proud Boys extremist gang, frustrated parents of students, and other anti-maskers rallied against the requirement that students, staff, and teachers wear face coverings. The incident was just the latest example of the Proud Boys teaming up with anti-maskers to threaten school boards from Florida to New Hampshire over COVID mandates. Now, I want to remind you that 60+% of parents are in favor of these mask mandates, okay? And some places, it's over 70% of parents are in favor of these mask mandates for children because they work. The Proud Boys attempted to escort a freshman seeking a medical exemption. Y'all, they got the children involved, okay? Using them like pawns. From the mask mandate into the Vancouver school, according to witnesses, the attempted incursion prompted the call for a lockdown. The freshman's mom, Megan Gabriel, had claimed that the mask could trigger panic attacks in her daughter. The school had declined the request. There was no medical documentation for the proclamation of the parent. Patriot Prayer, I want you to remember that name. Patriot Prayer, a local far-right group, rallied supporters by saying that students would be arrested if they refused to comply with the mask mandate. That claim was 100% untrue, but they needed to manipulate the masses in order to get participation. So they lied and said, if students do not have on masks, they are going to be arrested. Carrying signs that read, masking kids equals abuse. And medical choice, your body, your choice. Now, do I really have to point to the irony of this? They literally have signs that say, your body, your choice. These are the same people who would say women do not have the right or the choice to do what they would like to do with their own bodies. Understand the hypocrisy that is involved here. Demonstrators rallied in front of the schools and on the sidewalks near buses. Some protesters shouted slurs at female students walking, according to security guards who were walking on the premises. A student named Lucas was in the school during one of the lockdowns and said, and I quote, "All their learning gets disrupted. We have to sit down quietly, not make noise. And we were hunkered down in our classrooms for around an hour to an hour and a half." Wow. What's really disrupting the school? Mask? No. I've said before, any real teacher knows how to teach somebody. It doesn't matter if they have on a mask, if the teacher has on a mask. Hell, some teachers are so good, they can make the mask part of the curriculum, bring the lesson home. It's called pedagogy. Masks are not disrupting the educational moment. These clowns are. Dan, your thoughts, brother?
It's really disturbing to see. For folks who don't know, Vancouver, Washington, where this is taking place, is a really generally liberal kind of place. It's over on the border between Washington State and Oregon, not Vancouver in Canada. And yeah, to see, it looks like you see what's happening in a lot of areas where the majority of people aren't conspiratorial. They've gotten with it. They understand that, listen, sometimes inoculations and getting these shots can be kind of difficult, not the most fun thing, even though this is entirely safe and has been proven to be safe for months now. Getting this vaccine means you're not spreading this illness to other people in close spaces. You need to be in school. We've seen how much people have complained about learning getting disrupted on the left and the right. Parents are at their wits end because they need, schools are very important in our society. And so to see this disruption happen is shocking, but unfortunately not surprising.
Yeah, also not surprising that nobody's been locked up. They need to go to jail for this foolishness.
I'll also say that this is an example of Fox News rhetoric coming home to roost, because Tucker Carlson was saying, hey, if you see our kids, just months ago on his show, if you see kids who are being forced to wear masks, and parents are making them wear masks, you have to be basically active in that situation because it's child abuse. He was using the phrase child abuse. He was saying words similar to ripping the masks off kids' faces and getting involved in that kind of thing. So these people are watching this media, consuming this media, and this media is telling them to trust nothing else but them. And so this is what happens as a result. It's very dangerous, and we need to continue to revisit conversations about the effects of right-wing propaganda in our society.
Yeah, well said, brother. Okay, fed up prosecutor. Good, I'm glad there's a prosecutor fed up with injustice. A federal prosecutor, John Choi, the prosecutor who charged the officer who shot and killed Philando Castile. Remember that? Let me take you back to that. This is graphic.
I have to tell you, I do have a firearm on me. Don't reach for it then. Don't pull it out. Don't pull it out.
We got pulled over for a busted tail light in the back, and the police, he's covered. They killed my boyfriend. He's licensed. He's licensed to carry. He was trying to get out his ID and his wallet out his pocket, and he let the officer know that he had a firearm and he was reaching for his wallet, and the officer just shot him in his arm.
Mr. Castile was murdered, okay? He had a right to have his gun constitutionally. He had his proper license in place, and he made an appropriate warning to law enforcement in order to make sure law enforcement did not make a mistake like that and kill him. He did everything right, okay? Did the NRA stand up for Mr. Castile? Did they really launch a campaign about gun owner rights for Mr. Castile? No. Because Mr. Castile does not fit their narrative. That's why. Has nothing to do with guns. It has everything to do with the narrative and gun manufacturers, okay? So there's a prosecutor who's now pissed off. Let's show a picture of this prosecutor. This is a good guy. His name is John Choi. John Choi charged that cop initially. He could not seal the deal. However, okay, a jury would later acquit the cop who killed Philando Castile. In honor of Castile, however, this DA announced that his office will no longer prosecute felony cases resulting from minor traffic stops for violations like an expired registration, overly tinted windows, or broken lights. Wow, that's a big deal. The change, Choi said, is a deliberate attempt to cut down on what he said are unnecessary stops by police of people of color that too often spiral into fatal incidents. He said, and I quote, "I'm not going to do this anymore. I am not going to perpetuate these unjust practices that disproportionately impact my community." Let's show this hero's picture again. Let's show it again. Mr. Choi. He said enough is enough. He's not playing along anymore. Remember, there's a concept called prosecutorial discretion. Usually they utilize it in order to overcharge people. He's now going to undercharge. He's saying, whatever comes from these types of arrests, it is in my prosecutorial discretion to prosecute or not. Choi said he hopes his jurisdiction, where racial disparities are pervasive, can see a similar decline. St. Paul, Ramsey County's largest city, 43% of all traffic stops in 2020 involved Black drivers, despite the fact that Black people only make up 16% of the population in the city. In Roseville, Minnesota, 28% of traffic stops in 2020 involved Black drivers, more than triple the 8% of Black residents in the city. You have other prosecutors that are following suit. Marilyn Mosby is doing something very similar, and you have others. This is now catching on. This is a progressive idea, okay? Dan, thoughts?
Overall, I'm just really happy to see someone actually stand up and say, this is something that is negative in society. This is something that criminalizes communities. I've talked many times on TYT of my own stories about people making sure, hey, don't hang up your placard for getting into the parking garage, or else the cops will pull you over for having something hanging in your car or whatever, or brake lights or whatever. I really like activists when they reach out into communities of color and they do brake checks for people and like prepare breaker lights just to make sure they don't get pulled over by the police. So overall, all these measures to make sure that we don't have these unnecessary run-ins with police officers who, as an institution, have shown that they are at least unwilling to try to address within themselves these issues where during stops they escalate to the point of fatality. The most we can do to prevent ourselves from getting to that point is the best we can do.
Man, I love it, brother. Put that very nicely. We got more on the other side. Stick and stay is indisputable.
I'll predict right here for you, Chris. I think Donald Trump will leave office before his term is up. He'll be humiliated, embarrassed, and I know him. He's not gonna wanna lose, and he's gonna run for the hills.
You got that bet all day long.
Okay, let's get after it. Now, so look, Jake has made some good predictions, and this isn't good fun. I could not disagree more.
There's no bromance between the two of them. You got that bet all day long, Janky, you. Oh, you stop. In the meantime, let's call him out on the damage.
No, but
I just got a Roku set. Did basically a little bit of channel surfing, and I was like, there we are.
Yeah.
There we are. And then I turned it on, and it was John and Brett on Damage Report making fun of me.
Oh no.
So you are so busted. I even took a picture of it, okay? They're talking about my predictions. I got a new prediction for you, John Idarola.
You're doing a show that's blowing the doors off everybody.
Young Turks is the largest online news network, not a big deal. We're gonna rock the boat. We're gonna be counter-establishment. We're gonna tell people the truth to the best of our abilities. We're so sick of this corruption. We're not the robots on TV. I actually care about the news. Guilty, guilty, I care. Fourth day on Occupy Wall Street. Last night we launched Wolfpack.
It's us pushing our ideas out there, trying to help the country in every way that we can, trying to make this place just a little bit better.
Reporting from the Hillary-Bernie debate. I gotta be honest, you know what we do, we cover it for real.
For us, this system isn't working.
Free and fair elections.
And when he told the cops that day, when they came to drag her away, and he said, if you're gonna chain her, you're gonna chain me. If you're gonna arrest her, you're gonna arrest me.
Hi, I'm Bartholomew Joseph Kyle. I do audio for the main show, The Young Turks. I also do audio for Post Game. I started in 2006. I met Cenk Uygur at the Iraq for Sale screening that was directed by Robert Greenwald. And watching that, I want to figure out a way to be part of something that's genuine and authentic.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of comments. Before I get to those comments, let me remind you, if you are watching Indisputable right now on the Damage Reports YouTube page, that is going to stop on September 30th, okay? So you have to subscribe. I'm sorry, September 13th. Excuse me, September 13th. You're gonna have to subscribe to the Indisputable TYT page. It's real simple, real easy. Don't miss the bullpen. Don't miss I Wish You Karen Wood. Don't miss any of the news of the day, all right? Indisputable TYT, make that happen, and everything will keep rolling just as it is. If you are already a member, your homework is to get 5 more people to become members of Indisputable TYT. Listen, we're at 199,000 subscribers already. We'll be at 2,000 by today, okay? That's because of you. And I thank you, every single one of you, for making this program such an amazing success, all right? Also, we got some more good news. I got more good news next week, but I can tell you about this good news today. We are now available on podcast, okay? So this is coming Monday. You can search for Indisputable with me on Acast, on the Acast app. Also, Apple Podcast and other places you get your podcast, all right? Make sure you follow and give us 5 stars if you believe in the show, okay? Thank you so much. The conversation, we good on that. All right, Galaxy Brain. Catch Galaxy Brain with Ben Carollo, the big homie, right after Indisputable. That is a Twitch program, twitch.tv/TYT. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to some of these comments, okay? Mickey C, the silver hair dragon TYT member. Oh hell, I cried when I saw this video earlier. Now you're making me cry again. I know it's really heartfelt, right? Yeah. Kelly O'Hara, this is my poet. I see you on Fox talking up a big game, all noise. This is about Larry Elder. I see you on Fox talking up a big game, all noise with no point. Ain't that a shame? You're running your mouth, acting tough against Biden. Well, from where I sit, you keep ducking and hiding. You keep trying to rap and you don't have a flow. You're scared of this truth, but you'll get it though. Hashtag Cold Feet Larry. And let me tell y'all something. When I told y'all to troll Larry Elder because he's been ducking and dodging me, y'all, when I got like 300 tags on social media with you all telling Larry Elder to debate me. Listen, I'm good with it, okay? 9 times out of 10, trolling is bad. But that 1 out of 10, that's what you're doing. All right, Mary Bryan. Portland and Vancouver have had enough of these jerks. I wish they would be held accountable ever. They get away with so much here, yeah. Thank you, YouTube Super Chat. Nicolette, greetings from Vancouver. They are finding alliances in each other and excited by it. Also, one of the PBs prayed over the child outside. He has a record of violence. Then they cried about the police in their Telegram groups. Wow, Chill Will. Have a wonderful weekend, Dr. Richard. Be blessed, brother. Thank you so much, Chill. Elizabeth D'Alio. Rashad, you're saying it wrong. Anti-mask vax parents are teaming up with domestic terrorist organizations to shut down schools. I stand corrected, okay? That is domestic terrorism. Jim Weaver, Desired of Dragon. The one good thing that came from Castile's murder is that my parents and people like them found that it can happen here. They're having talks with their friends of color that they never had. That's a bad silver lining, but it is a silver lining, right? Freedom Fighter, those 2 ladies made up for all the Karens this week. I don't know, I got 2 more for you today. I don't know, hold on to that thought, okay? Dragon Dane, so wonderful to watch, love, thank you, Doc, thank you too. And Bernie, the Kiwi Dragon, excuse me. Any news on, I knew this was coming. Any news on indisputable paraphernalia from the shop, Dr. Richie? Didn't I say I had another announcement next week? Didn't I just tell you that? Gosh. All right, thank you for that, Bernie. Twitch, Radiant Trobin Lee, Radiant Robin Lee. I really need to see the kindness and compassion today. What a wonderful story to start. Yeah. Resto Dragon says, Dr. Richie is an extraordinary person. The more I hear about him, the more I'm impressed. The man is a role model for anyone, young and old alike. I appreciate you saying that. I'm a regular guy from Glenwood Road. Thankful for another opportunity and chance at life to get it right, okay? But thank you for the sentiment. Ladies and gentlemen, this was just so damn sad. A high school student whose grandmother just died of COVID-19, this student was mocked, not by the students, but by the parents. This is in Rutherford County, Tennessee. A student who advocated for a mask mandate before the school board shared a deeply personal story, but was interrupted, ridiculed, laughed at by anti-maskers. Here's the video.
I'm worried about my family. If I get COVID, I'm gonna bring it to my family. And I talk to my grandparents a lot. They're higher risk than me, so I don't wanna give them COVID. This time last year, my grandmother who was a former teacher at the Rutherford County School System, died of COVID because someone wasn't wearing a mask. This is a very
Hey guys, we're here to act professional. Please, sir, go ahead.
Thank you. This is an avoidable issue, and by not wearing masks in schools, it's irresponsible. We're killing people. This is not something that we should be doing for the education of our students. Thank you.
It's amazing how the roles will switch, right? Like he sounds like a parent and then the parents sound like children. That's what Trump would do to you, okay? Let me give you some background to this. One board member expressed how ashamed the 7 members of the board felt, promising nothing like that would happen again. The young man involved, his name is Grady Knox. Knox said, and I quote, "If they laugh at me about a personal story about my grandmother, that's just disrespectful. I feel so. I was shaking a little bit. I hope that they can see that there's people like me that want to see change and look past all of the hecklers. As long as I can get my message across, I don't really think it matters that what the crowd thinks of me. Overall, they're not the ones making the decisions for the school." That's an amazing young man. That's an amazing young brother right there. Amazing. Let's show a picture of this woman who was laughing and part of the anti-mask brigade. She's a registered nurse. Her name is Erica Casher. Ms. Casher is a frequent at these school board meetings, pretending as if she gives a damn about children. There was one right in front of you, Ms. Casher. You didn't care about that one. Knox gets the last laugh though, because on Thursday, the Rutherford County School Board has voted to require masks in schools. The young man won. Really a victory for everybody in the school system, becoming the latest Middle Tennessee district to institute a mask mandate. The mandate goes into effect on September 13th and will last until October 14th, and they will reevaluate at that point, okay? Also, Knox, according to the system, will be invited back for a formal apology. We will likely update when that apology comes. The mandate, which passed on a vote of 5-2, automatically terminates the countywide positivity rate tops below 10% or 3 consecutive weeks, okay? This is really interesting. But once again, the minority is loud. They are not the majority. That's not the majority sentiment. Parents are for mask. School teachers are for mask. The science says masks work. Dan, thoughts here?
So many, I'll try to compress them as much as I can, but that, first of all, just even that video was the most naked and blatant example of the difference between, or the hierarchy that people have of their own personal freedoms and their perceptions of those personal freedoms versus the very real realities of those effects on other people. But people would love the ability to just not be able to drive or whatever, and not be able to drive without licenses, but we have to actually care about people and their like lives. So thankfully, at least it seems like Tennessee will be, this part of Tennessee will have at least a little bit of a mask mandate for a little bit of time to hopefully help things.
Yeah, and listen, it's all a process, right? It's chess, not checkers. And when I say that, I mean you're looking for positioning, right? There's no final move here. You are continuing to move down the board, keep positioning. This young man has the right idea. He will be back during the next meeting. Glad that he's part of the advocacy community, even inside of his school system. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you Karen would.
You want to call the police on him for having a barbecue on a Sunday?
I feel free. Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
She's a chubby girl. She's got a dress on that's appropriate. It comes down to about top of her knees.
So you're sitting here calling me fat?
Oh, you don't think you are?
No, because I who I am. I'm sorry. No, get the out of my face.
I don't have to. And don't swear at me like that.
I don't give a
I do. That's your problem. I do give but you don't. Obviously. Don't come back on that stage with those shorts. I'm warning you.
Who are you? Who are you? Who?
Read my name.
I see that. But who are you to tell me what I'm supposed to do? No,
voice.
get the out of my face.
Quit swearing at me.
Get out. I am 19 years old and I can do whatever I want.
Really?
Yes.
Try it.
Okay. Bye. Bye. Bye, 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 bye. Because guess what? I've been recording this entire thing, and I will show my parents that I will never come back to this church because of how much you are disrespectful. You are so disrespectful. She called me fat. She called me fat.
Go in the bathroom. Go in the bathroom.
She is in there swearing.
The victim of this church leader, Karen, gave an update. I want us to go to that update now, and then I will give you some significant background to what happened here. Here's the update that the young lady just posted recently.
Hey guys, I just kind of wanted to do an update many years later after that situation happened. I haven't really seen Bonnie Sue since then. I stopped going to church really, kind of discovering myself right now. As for Bonnie Sue, I really don't know what's going on in her life. I'm just kind of staying away from that and been minding my own business and doing myself. I will say that she has tried to push my family's buttons and did try to get close to them and interact with them the past few years, but I think she's finally gotten it, is that we don't want anything to do with her. I just wanted to say welcome and thank you to the people who are coming from Reddit and discovering my video right now. Thank you for reaching out to me and sharing the love, because I really appreciate that. I did let the church know that there is a second wave of people coming through and just wanted to forewarn them, because if anyone's trying to reach out to them, I promise they did everything that they could do during that situation, and they were absolutely amazing. I'm still in contact with my pastors. They are still absolutely wonderful, and if I ever needed to go to them, they always had their door open for me. For anyone else trying to find my other social medias, I use different names for everything pretty much, but if you're trying to find me on Instagram, it's Gina with a G _Todd 9308. And I think it's Jenna Rue for TikTok. It's Jenna _Rue 10.
All right, send us something nice, okay? Here's the thing. This supposed church leader who was part of the United Methodist Church at the time, and by the way, this is contrary to the sentiment of the United Methodist Church, and they did handle it quickly, all right? This particular Karen, her name is Bonnie. Remember she said, what does my name tag say? Well, it says Bonnie. I know today is Bonnie Sue, all right? She followed this 19-year-old in the bathroom to say these very damaging words from a trusted church figure, all right? Now, some people on social media had a problem with the way the young lady responded inside of that church. Let me say this. I'm so glad she responded that way. You know why? Because a lot of times when a trusted adult, when somebody you have respect for, when they try to shatter you, you internalize it. She did not internalize a damn thing. She told that woman exactly how she felt. Good for her. All right, Dan, this was an extreme situation, obviously. This is a good update in my opinion. I'm glad she's smiling and doing well. Your thoughts here?
I'm the best thing about this to me, or one of the nicer things about this that makes the story stand out, is how she's still in touch with people from the church, the pastor. Yeah. She said she would go back to them in an instant if necessary, and that does go against the tide of seeing that not all churches are hateful, not all churches are full of like bigoted people. They're actually people who will come out and support you. Unfortunately, there are too many folks like that, and churches should, and thankfully the United Methodists did here, do what they need to do to make sure that you have as few of these people as possible. But I'm glad that she still has people connected in that church that she can reach out to, and that she's overall doing fine.
Yeah, and it also shows her level of maturity as well.
Absolutely.
Just an update on Bonnie Sue. She was a past delegate of the North Carolina Conference of the United Methodist Church. She later resigned from all leadership roles within the church. Okay, all right. We got more on the other side. Stick and stay, it's indisputable.
You know what the progressive movement needs? It needs a little energy, a little pizzazz, maybe a little caffeine. Oh, coffee. But what if it was Too Strong Coffee? Yes, new, toostrongcoffee.com/TYT. Look, this helps progressive causes. It's also organic and fair trade, so you've got peace of mind that it was done right, and it happens to taste great. So check it out right now at toostrongcoffee.com/TYT.
That 300 million is a pretty good number, Well, that's the size of the US population. You know what our next target is? The size of the entire world. We just crossed 5 billion views on YouTube.
I mean, imagine 10 years ago thinking one day. We would have looked at you like, are you nuts?
Young Turks has just passed another milestone. 15 billion views. Damn. All right, lots of comments. You guys are the best.
I'm gonna read a few comments from our members.
Mr. Methuselah says on YouTube, super chat, thanks for all the important work you do for TYT for the movement.
Do you know who had the first super chat when I got back from vacation? You won't be surprised to find out. Rob Shively, what do you know? Rob says, rejoice, for Dragon Daddy has returned.
This question sent to us by Izzy Sanchez Jr. Is it me or is Meghan McCain talking as fast as Ben Shapiro? Is that the way the right tries to look smart and intellectual? Well, yes.
Michael Nathan writes it on Twitter. Did Anna choose Cenk's outfit today? I'm sure it wasn't Cenk himself. Man Bun Cenk and Skinny Jeans says, so now Anna has pointed out, okay, that's his handle.
T. Joyce, 1971, saying Donald Trump is good at pulling out of things, NAFTA, the Iran deal, NATO. It's just too bad Fred Trump didn't.
All right, let me do a little quick plug here. It's not even a plug, I'm bragging, okay? I'm bragging, watch me. We have a channel on YouTube, a whole channel devoted just to the Young Turks. It's badass, right? Wow, man. I can see the voice.
You guys are rock stars.
Unbelievable, Senator Sanders. Welcome to Rebel Headquarters. Man, you guys are amazing. We gave you what you wanted. Okay. Speaking of shirts.
I have a surprise.
You reached a lot of people. You are the Young Turks. And we have spread that progressive message wide and far. Let's keep it going.
Here's what we do. We go beyond the headline. We are willing to engage in transparent conversations with those who do not think like me. We also make sure that you know what's happening not only nationally, but in your local area. Make sure you tune in to Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, Monday through Friday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time.
Cool news, shoptyt.com now has books. There's a whole bunch of books there. You're gonna be shocked to find out that they're largely progressive. Of course! Ryan Grimm's book, We've Got People, is there. It's fantastic. It's a story from Jesse Jackson to Bernie Sanders to AOC that explains the progressive movement probably better than any book I've ever read. Speaking of awesome books, my dad's got a book out called The Original Young Turk, where he goes from the poorest olive farmer you ever met in your life to living the American dream.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of viewer comments. And don't forget, if you're watching Indisputable on the Damage Reports YouTube page, you got to make the switch, all right? You have to make the switch. They have been so remarkable at making sure we had a good lead into the show, but that is going to stop September 13th. But fret not. All you got to do is go to Indisputable TYT on YouTube and subscribe. It's easy, it is free, it is quick, and it's the right thing to do. 199,000 subscribers. Make sure you're part of that 200,000 goal, all right? I appreciate all you do in advance. Also, we are, starting Monday, going to be available, podcast, all right? Acast app, all right? And anywhere you get your podcast from, Apple, we there too. Make sure you check us out on Monday. I'm very excited. Follow the show and make sure you give us 5 stars if you appreciate the programming. Let's go to these amazing comments. TYT member Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon, says, more childish adults who have no decorum, no respect for others. That ignorant woman laughing while chewing her cud actually stuck her tongue out at Grady. That is the age mentality of these cultists on a level with their deranged God Trump. Dana Manning. And conservatives wonder why people are leaving the church. Exactly, she left the church. She said she was gone. She finished with that church. Progress Spire strikes back. Someone please call this young lady and remind her that she is beautiful and tell her she did a remarkable job defending herself against the demon. Good stuff, thank you. Peter Hanby. What world are we living in where adults are making childish mockery of a child who expressed his grief about a lost family member while behaving like an adult? If they want COVID in their home, yeah. Michael Norrish, kind of afraid to ask. I love the Kara segments, but are they recent or from an archive? Regardless of your answer, I don't know which one is more depressing. By the way, love the show. Well, some of them are very recent, like just happened maybe the day before, sometimes day of. Some of them are a little more dated and they did not get the attention I feel they deserve, but they highlight a very important social dynamic. So I bring them to you. And sometimes we do what we're about to do. I give you a Flashback Friday. Double dose.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday?
You're still free. Back off! I'm going to tell them there's an African American man threatening my life.
No, you did that. Now you're going to jail. Now you're going to jail. That's not our problem.
You can go, man.
Better run.
I mean, really.
Now you can go. She's decided to be an idiot.
Jeez.
I know some of you are wondering what in the hell just happened. Well, let me give you some background. According to the person who recorded the video, this was all about her boyfriend, former boyfriend, who was leaving and on the bus trying to get away from her because she was being abusive. I gotta say this, I believe him, given the video we just saw. And given the strength of the impact of breaking that windshield. You know, buses are built to last, okay? That's not a simple feat to just break the windshield of a bus that's built a certain way to last, right? So she decided to inconvenience everybody on that bus because her ex-boyfriend, who he claims was that she was abusive to him, that's why he was getting out of there. She then became abusive to that bus and made sure that nobody could leave if she could not. Now if she could not get him off the bus. Now she knew what she did was wrong because when she broke that window and people started saying you're going to jail, she got the hell up out of there, all right? She had enough sense to know that. Dan, sometimes, brother, you just gotta let it go. You know what I mean?
You just gotta take your L's and move on. But honestly, that is, I'm still distraught by how strong that punch was. Like, that was amazing force there. Like, that's a pretty open and shut case where, like, thankfully that guy is getting out of that situation. It gets better from there, dog. Just like have a couple of your favorite libation of choice, and like there will be better fish in the sea. I guarantee you that. Ones that don't like have the fist that breaks the bus windshield. Like, buses get in accidents and the windshield in the front are totally fine. You'd imagine, oh, it's a flat thing, the bus is gonna be really bad in an instant. No, like, you're really bad in a bus accident or whatever. So I'm impressed by her force, but you gotta just know when to take your L's and move on.
Yeah, you do. All right, unfortunate situation, but I'm glad the guy who claims he was being abused is safe. All right, ladies and gentlemen, drunk anti-maskers freak out on a flight before getting booted off. And listen, just go to the video.
Max, go forward. I don't care.
How dare you? That pillow dragged below my nose made me wait 4 hours for this flight. Do you understand that? You made me wait 4 goddamn hours. You gave me one warning. One warning. That's it. The second he said something, I pulled it over my nose. No, give me my. Give it to me. Go get it.
Okay, record. Was this making fun of her? Okay, next time.
Your nose is showing when you approach me. You know that? Your nose is showing when you approach me.
To put it on.
I got an expensive washer. I got my backpack on board.
They're kicking us off. I don't know why. We're American. Civilians. Everything. That's it. And let's not Frank with JetBlue won't tell me why. So it's okay. Everyone. Let it go viral. Everyone I know is an attorney. I'm the party. Have you heard of that?
I'm not the type of guy. I'm a vaccinated person. I respect all your rules. Every single one of them. I respect your rules. Okay? You gave me one warning because my neck pillow pulled it down.
Your wife came off unmasked. Your wife just came off unmasked.
She came off unmasked because you guys are causing a scene. Turn around. Turn around. Face everybody, Frank. Face everybody, Frank. Go ahead. Turn around. See why you're holding you.
You should have quit while you were not ahead. Now you're really far behind. So let me dissect this. First, there's a violation of the actual rules. While the guy is yelling, he respects the rules. Remember, this started because they were not respecting the masking rules of the airline. That's number one. Number two, he then physically assaulted an actual employee. He put his hands on an employee trying to regain entry to the airplane. We see that on the video. He also complained about only receiving one warning. Now, I can imagine in his privileged mind, he's saying, now, damn it, I'm a white man. I deserve at least 3 warnings. And then, as the spouse is leaving the plane because it's time for them to go, she decides in her explanation to demonstrate how she is in fact a mask violator by taking off the mask in order to be camera ready for her explanation of how she is not an anti-mask person. Wow, there is so much here. Let me quickly read the statement from JetBlue. JetBlue said, and I quote, "The customers will not be allowed to fly JetBlue in the future." I don't need to say anything else. It's a bigger statement. Y'all can put that whole statement up there. That's all I needed to hear. Okay, that's it. Dan, thoughts here, brother?
Yeah, best endorsement of JetBlue ever. It's almost like when that guy got beat upside the head with twisted tea in that liquor store earlier this summer for being racist. Like I bought more twisted teas as a result of that. I'm gonna get a JetBlue ticket to like the closest airport I can and fly back just to support him. No, there's so many great things in that. There's certain snippets of privilege you get in there. First of all, when a drunk person is telling you that they are being calm and civil, loudly, drunkenly berating you when they're at a thing, just great start. First of all, I've been there, but great start to your entire thing. But the privilege in there, he's waited for 4 hours on this flight. Probably everyone else did too.
That's right.
He has expensive stuff on the flight. Okay, whatever, man. People have their belongings on flights too. I love the idea that he's running through like his matrix of options here to like get himself back on the plane. He's like, what if I tell them I have expensive things? Right. Like, come on. And then the lady goes, it's okay. It's okay. All my friends are attorneys. Every single one of my friends are attorneys. They're gonna send you one lawsuit each. And it's gonna be great. I'm civil and I like masks. And this is one attorney. I love it. I love so much of that. Again, because like I said, I've been on the other side of this where I've accidentally made a scene. Not in that kind of manner and not about masks, but like you gotta know when to just move on. Just move on. Just have some water and move on.
That's it, man. All right, brother, always a pleasure to have you on Indisputable. Tell people how they can follow you and check you out.
Thank you, Doctor. Love the show. Follow me at Dan from the Web on Twitter. Check out Power Report where we're doing politics. Check out Audio Face where we're reviewing music, news, and culture. And sometimes that intersects with politics, but a lot of times it's just fun. But yeah, thanks again for having me on. Take care.
Always a great job, my friend. We'll talk very soon. Ladies and gentlemen, stick and stay. The bullpen is next.
Cenk Uygur is not here today, which means that I will be able to talk during the show.
We'll see.
Poor Cenk, under the bus.
My God, if Jesus came back, how much would the Republicans hate him? So now you have to give away all of your possessions to the poor. Steve King would be like, oh, Weezy. Everyone should be lucky enough to have a John Iadarola in their life.
You confused everyone?
Okay, sorry, I thought it was pretty clear.
Take a break now.
You can turn me to Dr. Manhattan as long as I get what Dr. Manhattan's packing, okay?
The liberal mom says, Mark Thompson, have you ever thought about doing one of those tapes that soothe people to sleep? Like Mark Thompson reads the phone book. I'd buy it.
If you'll buy it, I'll do it.
Emilio D'Amelio writes in, John, you are so thick. I love you. That's what he wrote.
Pork Chop Express writes in and says John Iadarola needs a new jacket.
Whoa.
Those 24-inch pythons are about to burst out of his sleeve.
Gun, baby. You know the two people here said that their moms were both in love with you over Beauty and the Beast?
Mm-hmm. That's an improvement. I usually get grandmothers.
Charlie Turk.
No, wait a minute, don't you dare.
Chemical castration when we return from the break.
I hope that, who they choose for the White House isn't just a borderline Klansman. That's all we gotta hope.
That's it, we will settle it.
She's cute.
I didn't say that about Laura Ingraham.
Scandal at TYT. Did Anna comment on my tan yet? No, she hasn't.
You're a good bosser.
But Anna did say that I come in here today with a fresh mind. That's all I'm about. I'm about a fresh mind.
I can't with you right now. Okay?
She just can't. She can't, but nonetheless, we have to for another 3 hours. I'm back, baby. Let's rip in the Republicans. You don't miss the live show.
That's great.
Tell people, if you're a member, you get the whole live show whenever you want. Because this stuff doesn't go into any of the clips.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Iadarola. This is gonna be a big one. Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
What's happening? evening. I'm Dr. Rashad Ritchie, host of Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Here's the bottom line. I play no games about policy, period. Too many people's lives are at stake. So here's what I do. I challenge conservative ideology that hinders the growth of this country. I make sure we place our facts in proper context, and I have no problem debating anyone on a position that I have. Progressives have the ideas to change the world, but when you really look at it, progressives have always changed this world for the better. I want you to tune into my new show, Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, right here on the TYT Network, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time. I'll see you there.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of show left. The bullpen is coming up. Before we get to the bullpen, let me just remind you, real important, make sure you make the switch. If you're watching Indisputable on the Damage Reports YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe to Indisputable TYT on YouTube. Do that now, because come Monday, all right, September 13th, you would not be able to watch the show from there. You would have to watch it on Indisputable TYT. Never miss Worship Karen Wood, never miss the bullpen, all of that great stuff. If you are already subscribed tell 5 of your friends to subscribe this weekend. We got 199,000 subscribers. We're about to hit that 200,000 mark because of you. Thank you for being so supportive. Also, exciting news coming on Monday. The podcast is here. Starting Monday, this show will be available on Acast app, Apple, and where you get your podcast from, all right? It's gonna be quite cool. And follow the show. Click follow on the podcast and give us a 5-star rating, all right? You can also watch the conversation, you know about that. Galaxy Brain with the big homie Ben Carollo. That's right after Indisputable, that's on Twitch. Twitch.tv/TYT, all right? You can make that happen. Let's get to some of these comments. TYT member, Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon. Hell, if I were her boyfriend, I'd be afraid too. Some women are also domestic abusers, and I believe that she is one. I hope she was arrested. Her fast rise to violence is scary. Yeah, Rob, I'm certainly not eager to travel by plane for years, maybe. I'm not eager either, brother. Harp C8 super chat says, wonderful show, Dr. Richie. It is every day. And thank you so much for that. It's a team effort. Nathan Sanders, top 3 places where you absolutely better behave, even if you're white. Number 1, airplanes. Number 2, the court. And number 3, my mama's house. That was funny, I like that. Rocket Render, she has the iron fist. Rocket, I gotta say this, you're a person after my own heart. I love the iron fist, okay? All right. Ricardo Chucky, Fox News headline, patriots are being harassed by airline workers. That's exactly the headline. Yes, people who love America are being harassed by people who work on airplanes. Peachy Shari said, LOL, I literally laughed out loud at he's a white man, he deserves 3 warnings. That's right, yeah, all right, thank you so much for those amazing comments. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen. All right, in the bullpen today, we have back again, Quill Robinson, VP of Government Affairs and American Conservation Coalition. How are you, sir?
Doing well, thanks for having me back.
Thanks for being back on the program. Let's chop it up, man. I don't wanna presume what you know or believe about corporation and climate. I do remember that you think there's this marriage of deregulation and environmental safety. So I would like you to give us your sentiment as it relates to how companies, corporations would be better environmental stewards if there's no regulation in the market or less.
Well, again, thanks for having me back, Dr. Richie, and looking forward to talking more about this important subject. I think it's important to define what we're going for here. So if we're talking about climate change, which is definitely the biggest environmental issue that we're facing right now, we want to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and prepare communities for change, right? And we're gonna need a lot of shifts to happen in the economy in order to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And that's gonna require a lot of innovation and new technologies that are gonna help us lower those greenhouse gas emissions. And so my point here when it comes to regulation is there is red tape, there is regulation that currently exists that is getting in the way of those sorts of innovations from happening. And so I'm not saying strip away all regulation. What I am saying is we wanna make it as easy as possible for those innovations that will help us fight this very important issue of climate change, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and get in the direction that we want to go. And I think that that's something that we can probably agree upon because we need more innovations in order to address this issue.
I do agree with the innovation point of view. And let me read something. This is from Harvard Business Review. And it says that the research finds that global emission levels are lower for countries with tighter environmental regulations. They are higher in countries that have looser environmental regulations. That's a real cause and effect reality. What they also found in the research, the data reported by Harvard Business Review, is that many times when there is regulation in the marketplace, some of these companies, some of these corporations will simply go to a foreign country that has less regulation in the market in order to pollute more, for lack of a better phraseology. And what they found is that companies may transfer polluting operations to those countries. The idea behind the data, or the conclusion, is that these companies increase their polluting activities when there's either an option domestically where there's deregulation, or an option internationally where there's a deregulated reality for them. So my question to you is, based on the actual research, and this was published in 2021, very recent study, based on the behavior of these corporations, what makes you think that if left up to their own will, right? You have more deregulation, it increases or enhances innovation. Great, I think that's a good tool. What makes you think this will work a positive for environmental realities for everybody in this country and beyond, when they don't take advantage of those innovations outside of the United States of America, when they are in a deregulated foreign country?
Sure. Well, Dr. Ritchie, I don't think that we should be exporting jobs to other countries, and I certainly don't think we should be exporting our pollution to other countries. I think we agree on that. But that's going to require creating an economic environment where you both have a reasonable amount of environmental regulation, and at the same time are creating the economic conditions for that innovation to happen. There was a report released by C3 Solutions just this year, and they found that free economies are in fact cleaner economies when it comes to the environment. So what do I mean by free economies? Those are places where there are strong property rights, there are strong incentives for innovation, where it's easy to start a business. And in fact, what this report found from C3 Solutions was that the economies that were freer actually were twice as clean as more heavily regulated and top-down, mandate-heavy economies that actually do not spur that sort of innovation. And so there's pretty clear evidence that we actually can do both. And I think that that's the position that the United States should be putting ourselves in, is a place where we can see that innovation, have reasonable regulation, and have both that economic prosperity and environmental sustainability that we're looking for.
You do make a compelling point. Let's talk about how the message continues to permeate, especially among Republicans, because Democrats are on the right side of at least the environmental justice issue, knowing that there's a real cause and effect between what man does and what happens to our environment. You do agree that what we do here impacts the environment around us, right?
Absolutely, and as a conservative, I feel like I have a personal responsibility to make sure that I'm caring for my community and my environment, and that when I have kids in the future, that I'm passing on a world that is healthier. And I think that really comes from my faith, my conservative perspective on the world, and a sense of responsibility. And I think that that's something that actually is very strong if you're talking to folks in rural or red communities, whether they're farmers or hunters or fishermen. They actually think about that a lot, and that's something that is that sentiment is very present in those communities.
Well, Republicans don't think about it enough. So let me give you some more data. And I appreciate what you said, because I've often made the comparison. I say, listen, Christian folks understand the cause and effect relationship between everything but environment. And I never understood that, okay? Reap what you sow. All of these dynamics in the Bible are connected to cause and effect relationships. Then all of a sudden, when it comes to environment, only 22% of Republicans believe that there's a cause and effect relationship between what man does and how the environment responds. Only 22%. That's compared to over 80% of Democrats who are very clear that what we do impacts the environment around us. So let me ask you, because you're on the other side, you're in a different data set. Why has it been so difficult for Republicans to be able to look at the actual science and say, yes, what men and women do to pollute the environment impacts the environment? Why is that a difficult connection?
Sure. Well, Dr. Ritchie, last time we were speaking, I believe you said it was at 6%. So I'm glad to hear that number is going up. When I'm having conversations, came out in
2021, the last one was in 2020. So yeah, it is increasing, and I think
absolutely. That number is certainly going up every day. And I think that in my work with the organization I work with, we talk about what conservative solutions to climate change look like. And when I'm talking to Republicans across the country, they're very enthusiastic about that. But I think even more importantly, what's beyond that sentiment, and where do we need to get? We need to be talking about solutions, right? It's not enough just to believe that climate change is happening. We need to figure out what are the best avenues in terms of policy that are actually going to yield the outcomes that we want. And the fact is that 90%, and this is according to a Pew Research Center poll that they conducted last year, 90% of Americans support planting more trees to sequester carbon dioxide. 84% support investing in carbon capture and utilization. 79% support investing in more alternative sources of energy. And so if I'm doing my numbers right, that includes a whole lot of Republicans too.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
So I think that's a pretty encouraging sign.
You're right, brother. It does include a whole lot of Republicans. But let me give you some other data points. 83% of Americans are in favor for tax breaks for utilities. 62% are in favor of taxing companies for their greenhouse gas emissions. So once again, this is the majority sentiment of the nation. But when you break that data out and look at conservative versus everyone else, Republicans are once again in the minority. They do not represent the majority of the respondents as it relates to that sentiment. And let me go back to Republican leadership. And the only reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is because I want to see you all move in this direction. But what I don't want to see is some massive compromise and some hand in glove scenario where really corporations are dictating what environmental justice should look like, rather than those who actually really give a damn about environmental justice and not just a bottom line. Corporations care about the bottom line. So let's go to Republican leadership. Pollution concentrations tend to be 10% higher under Republican governors in the United States of America. That's based on actual codified data, okay? 37% higher under Republican presidents and Republicans in charge of the Congress. That's based on what's called the average pollution concentration count. That's a data set that was calculated 2 years ago. And it was massive because it went all the way back to the late 90s. So the question is, brother, I get what you're saying, man. I understand what you're selling, all right? And I'm buying some of it, but I can't buy all of it. And the reason is because you continue to say that you have to have a free market for this to work, which says unregulated. I just don't see the connection given the historical dynamics that we see clearly in front of us, given the leadership dynamic of how Republicans actually oversee the largest increase in these harmful emissions, and the fact that corporations have not engaged in the innovation that you're talking about, even when they are in a country that is basically deregulated as it relates to environmental safety. So what you're saying they're not doing, are we saying that magically they're going to start doing it if the red tape or the regulation starts to lessen for these corporations?
You know, I think if you asked any business owner or someone who's trying to start a business right now, if we live in a deregulated economy, I think that they would probably disagree with you. But again, that's not what I'm arguing for here. I'm not saying that we need to strip away all regulation. I'm saying we should look at places, look at areas where it's actually inhibiting us from getting to the goals that we want. I'll give you a specific example. We're in the middle of infrastructure negotiations right now, and you and I could probably have a longer argument about what that price tag should be and where that money should go. But I want to point to something specific in this infrastructure conversation to illustrate what I'm trying to say about red tape. There's this thing called the National Environmental Policy Act that was created to protect the environment. I think that that's a good thing. Essentially, what it means is that for large federal projects, there's a process of reviewing the environmental impact of those projects. The fact is that it takes on average to go through a NEPA review 4.5 years, and it costs well over $4 million. And so, bringing this into current day events and what we're facing right now is we're talking about how we can invest in infrastructure in order to address climate change. Having that sort of red tape, and I'm not saying strip all of it away, I'm saying how can we make that more efficient? Because I think climate change is too serious for these projects to be caught up and delayed for years, and for millions of dollars to be going to lawyers rather than the infrastructure projects that we actually need. So that's a specific example. I think broadly when it comes to Republicans, look, you had the highest ranking Republican in the House of Representatives come out with a climate platform this year. The sentiment has shifted. We're proposing our own solutions and having that debate, and you don't necessarily have to buy all the things that I'm selling. But I think that we're at a different place than where we were even a year ago, and that's being driven by young conservatives who think that we can balance economic and environmental goods, and that we need to address climate change in a smart way. So I see that trend line going in the right direction.
Yeah, I see it going in the right direction. I would not credit young conservatives for all of it. I think activists in general who are environmental activists definitely bring awareness to the topic.
And I count myself among them. I count myself as an environmental activist.
Yeah, and I count you as one as well. I never said that we live in a deregulated economy. I'm referring to foreign nations that are de facto deregulated environments, and these corporations are able to produce, to manufacture, but they have not created the innovation that you're talking about because they are still in the business of creating profit, not creating environmental safety for everybody, but profit. Now, regulation does, based on the data, decrease the harmful emissions that we're talking about. You can't get around that. But I do think that there's room here, brother. I really do. At some point, it has to tilt though, right? Because you can highlight the few members of Congress in the Republican Party who are giving light to this. You can highlight what you're doing in the Republican Party. You don't represent the majority, brother. You don't represent the majority of your party. You represent a minority. Even the leaders who put this on their platform as a hardcore dynamic that they want to push. Remember, the vast majority of those that vote for them do not believe in man-made climate dynamics, meaning men, women cannot impact the environment. Don't you think that's partly because of the massive misinformation that Republicans and conservative pundits have pushed in the anti-science realm as it relates to the environment? It has now become, it's come home to roost, so to speak.
Well, I would actually push back on that a bit. The second largest caucus in the House of Representatives, so essentially an interest group where members of Congress come together and discuss a particular issue, is the Conservative Climate Caucus. It has well over 60 members. And if you look at the polling, or actually if you go out and you ask a conservative, the folks that I'm friends with and work with, if they think that humans have an impact on the environment, they'll say yes. Confidently so, and many of them who live in rural communities and their income and their livelihoods depend on the health of the environment around them are very much interested in protecting the environment. And in Congress, we've been working on tons of different pieces of legislation that have in fact been led by Republicans. Yeah. And so I think you're talking about something that may have been the case several years ago, but that's just simply not the reality.
No, sir, that's not true. This data comes from, 2021, not several years ago. Only 22% of current Republicans believe that man-made environmental issues are real. They believe in environmental issues. They just think it comes from volcanoes and the natural flow of the planet, right? So they believe in that. They just don't believe that man can contribute to it or can stop it one way or the other. That is adversarial to the message that you're preaching. And don't you think the reason why only 22% of Republicans believe in what you're doing or what you're saying is because you all had massive misinformation at some point, right?
Dr. Ritchie, we can sit here and argue about poll numbers all day long, but frankly, I take climate change seriously to be focusing on that. And I think that it's really important that we're holding members of Congress, Republicans and Democrats, to account and making sure that they're voting the right way on bills that will result in lower greenhouse gas emissions. Yeah. Continuing to encourage the companies that many of them have set ambitious climate goals and are developing innovative technologies to lower greenhouse gas emissions. Continue to encourage that. And so, we can sit here and argue about this all day long and name and shame Republicans, or we can get to work. And that's what I'm focused on. I think that it's too important of an issue.
Let me tell you what you need to get to working on, because once again, cause and effect, right? We're talking about politics. If the vast majority of your party, if they don't believe in the product you're selling, that's why this poll is important. This poll is connected to a person. That person voted in a respondent survey. This is not just a poll, these are people that actually responded across the United States of America inside of your political party. If you cannot get at least sentiment from the voters in the Republican Party, you all would never have the political cover in order to execute the kind of environmental strategy you're talking about. So those numbers are just as important as the 60 people in that caucus, because part of the game of politics is influence and persuasion. And if you're unable to influence your political core, your party, as to what is right, what is proper, and what is appropriate, you would never have the political backing to do it. And look at who you got in the Congress, brother. They're never going to go contrary to the political sentiment of their voters. So you have to educate them as to what's really happening around the world as it relates to environment.
Sure, I think you make a great point. And I think that the reason that you actually had more Republicans voting for the Growing Climate Solutions Act this summer, 92-8 vote, you had more Republicans than Democrats voting yes on it, is because they understand that their constituents want farmers to be adopting more sustainable practices that'll help fight climate change. That's why it passed 92-8, and that's why you had more Republicans voting for it than Democrats. Their constituents want serious solutions that'll actually yield economic and environmental benefits. That's the same reason that Republicans were at the table and played a crucial role in passing the Energy Act of 2020, which invested in carbon capture and nuclear and battery storage and all these other technologies which are lowering greenhouse gas emissions. And again, back to the polling I referenced earlier, vast majority of Americans want those things. Republicans are delivering on that, and that's encouraging to me. I think that we need progress.
Man, the bills that you're talking about are bipartisan.
Absolutely
bipartisan.
Absolutely,
you can't say that Republicans are the ones delivering. But listen, man, I'm running out of time. But I appreciate you being on the show. Thank you for always coming on the Bullpen.
Absolutely, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember, take care of yourself. Take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.